Hello, everyone. This is Susie Carr, Director of Membership for the Golden Crown Literary Society. We want to welcome you to the Golden Crown Literary Society's virtual series. As GCLS pursues its mission of supporting women loving women fiction throughout the world, the virtual series strives to connect readers and writers, feature talented authors, and celebrate the diverse communities that are vital to our stories. We hope you enjoy today's event, Two Truths and One Lie. If at any time you lose connection, we suggest you leave the event and rejoin. Please take advantage of the chat feature and other interactive opportunities, such as polls or surveys that might be mentioned. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce Ann Roberts, our Interim Executive Director.
And it's time for Two Truths and One Lie, starring your host, Carson Tate. Hey, Carson. You're muted, Carson. There you are.
It's not a game show if someone doesn't mess up the rules.
That's right. Kind of back in the 70s, whenever they did everything by hand, I figure we're in for one of those days too. And welcome to the panelists as well. Carson, thank you so much for being here today and rounding up you. This is about what, your 82nd time moderating for GCLS? I think something like that.
Always happy to do it. Always happy to do it.
So, I noticed, and this is for all of you as well, is that I saw a lot of names on participants that we don't know. There are a lot of really new people out here today. So thank you for being here. And they may not even know, Carson, that you have, is it 21 books, 22 books?
I think it's like, I want to say, you lose count. It's like my age. I don't keep track anymore. But I believe that my book that got released this week was number 26 or 7.
Oh gosh. Well, I've really
I'm like one behind Georgia. I know that.
Okay. That is a way to remember it. And the title of that one.
Well, I just so happen to have it here, Anne. It's Spirit of the Law.
Okay. And is that part of a series?
It's a standalone book, and it's kind of perfect for today because it features an attorney, surprise, and a psychic. And so the psychic's name is Summer, and she's going to be helping me today to determine if these people are lying to me and the rest of you. So.
Well, and you'll be happy to know, Carson, I knew you were going to say all that. I did. I knew. So
I'm going to start calling you Summer. Your name is Summer.
Everyone else does. All right, I'm gonna get out of here. Carson's gonna explain the game to us. Thank you all for being here today. Everybody have fun. And
hi, everybody. So here's how this game is going to work. We have 8 people here with us today, 8 GCLS veterans and newbies, 4 of each. And we're going to start with a veteran, and we're going to have them tell us 3 things about themselves, 3 very personal, deep, probing things. And 2 of those things are going to be absolutely true. And one of them is going to be a big fat lie. And you will guess which one. We'll take an audience poll after they've told us all their hullabaloo. And then we're going to call on a newbie to guess. So you consider you're like the lifeline for the newbie. You're going to do the pre-work. So I'm going to start with, well, I was going to start with Mercedes, but I don't see Mercedes. So I'm going to jump to my
I'm here. I thought we were supposed to hide our cameras until whatever.
Do not hide that pretty face. Let's see you.
There you go.
Part of deducing if you're telling the truth or not is, seeing the mug. So.
Yes, I thought they said hide yourself until you were called on or whatever. I may have misunderstood.
Okay. They probably did, and I just wasn't following those rules because I am not a rule follower. So
a judge who's not a rule follower. Okay.
So you are a poet.
I am.
Yes. And you're a veteran GCLS conference goer.
And well, actually, yeah, Karen, the very beginning.
Yeah. So how many conferences have you been to?
Everyone there's ever been, including the virtual ones.
Wow. So 2005, is that?
Karen, was it 4 or 5? It was
Yes,
4.
five.
5.
Everyone.
Okay. Yes, 2005,
They're
all
muted,
the way up
so
through.
they.
Yeah, that's okay. But yes, she gave me good hand signals.
That's
Jazz hands. I don't know. Anyway, yes, since 2005, I have attended every conference, including the virtual ones, and I will continue to do those, but look forward to when I can grab somebody and hug them again.
awesome. We look forward to that too. So just to give everybody an example of how this game will work, I'm just going to give a quick example question. So what I'm drinking today is a big glass of vodka. So if that's a truth or a lie, I mean, if you think that's a lie, why don't you just do a little shout out in the chat roll?
Oh, and the chat roll. Let's see, where's the chat roll? I don't know.
Oh, that's such good vodka. Yeah, okay. Somebody said if it's true, we'll find out soon enough. All right. So Mercedes, I've given you time to get your game face on. Why don't you tell us 3 very special things about yourself?
Okay, I had to look through these emails and find my lies. I mean, my submissions. Okay. The first one, I have to read them like I don't even know them. Look at that. I was a member of the band Pain, Passion, and Surrender in Europe.
Okay, wait.
I did a lot of things in Europe. I was stationed there in the military, as some of you may or may not know. So that was part of the adventures. The second thing is I was involved in a bus bombing in an attempt to assassinate a army general while in Europe, because lots of exciting things happen in Europe. This was many years ago. And the third thing is I rode a mule to the bottom of the Grand Canyon while my daughter and I took our tour across America, returning to Florida from about 16 or 17 years in Hawaii.
Well, if only one of those things is true, you've led a very interesting life. I'm glad to hear you survived the bus bombing. Can you tell us what position you were in the band?
What position? Oh, vocalist and percussionist.
Okay, so if I were to play a little tune, which, you know, I'm a accomplished guitarist. If I were to play a little tune, you could sing for me?
Probably if I knew the tune.
Okay. And see, I'm trying to let people deduce whether or not you're a truth teller by asking these questions here. And so what kind of bus was it?
It was a standard tour bus. I was on my way back from a softball tournament in Belgium, in Shape, Belgium, if anyone is familiar with that area.
So you're playing softball, you got on a bus in Belgium and then with an army general, and then.
Well, no, the general wasn't on the bus.
Okay.
His entourage was ahead of ours as we headed back, returning to our destination, and someone attempted to assassinate him with a bomb. It missed him. It missed all 3 of his vehicles and rocked our bus. And I will say that after that, I probably didn't get on a bus again for another 20 or 30 years. And unfortunately, I kind of ended my softball career because that was kind of scary, you know, and yeah, curtailed a lot of things because that was kind of traumatic.
And so, so tell me about this mule ride, because that looks super scary. Because like every time I see it, the mules are like perched on the side of the mountain. Yeah.
It can be very scary. Those are not the widest of trails, and you hope your mule is well trained and just, you know, follows the one in front of it, unless the one in front of it, you know, does something it shouldn't. And yeah, it's the Grand Canyon is amazing and scary, even, just looking over the side.
All right. I have no idea from these stories which one of them are true, but we're going to need to toss it out to the audience next.
Okay.
I think that's what we do. We're going to toss it to the audience and let them take a poll. And while they're taking a poll, look, it's a magic poll. I'm gonna move the poll so I can see your pretty face. And so tell me a little bit about your poetry. So you have 2 volumes of poetry out, is that true?
I have, no, I have 1 volume of poetry out that is completely written by myself. That's Glimpses of a Fractured Soul, as you can see here. I also have poetry in an anthology that was curated and edited and produced by Beth Mitchum. I have poetry and a short story in a book that was curated by Renee Bess and Lee Lynch. The proceeds go to a couple of homes for gay and lesbian and LG, all of the alphabet anyway. The Forney organization, and I forget the name of the other, but I have literature in there as well. It's called Our Happy Hours, and it speaks to the club experiences that some of us had as youths. As youths.
My cousin Vinny has come up a lot this week for.
It really has. I love my cousin Vinny. I was hoping they wouldn't ruin it for me. Yeah, so, and then I have in an erotic anthology, I have a short story. I think it's Cops, and anyway, it ends with "Oh my." It's women in uniform. Is what it is.
Oh yeah, awesome. So, do you like writing prose or poetry best?
Probably poetry, especially poetry that has a great tempo and rhythm, and I love to rhyme, but I do write prose as well.
Well, I think poetry has reached a new peak in popularization after Amanda Gorman.
It's been confirmed that during times of trial, such as we've been in lately, poetry seems to have a resurgence because it speaks, to people, and sometimes it's succinct, and usually always it hits the point, the target.
Definitely. So just a couple of people have had some questions and said they're not sure if what they should choose in the poll. You should choose the lie, whichever, Mercedes was lying about. That's the choice you should make. And
me?
I know, right? Okay, so I think we'll give it 1 more second here and we're gonna close the poll. So let's see the poll results. It's like, all right, this is not going to be helpful at all to the next person I pick on, who is Ray. Ray, unmute yourself.
Me? It's my turn first.
It is your turn first, because I am very curious about one of your potential things you might say, because I'm psychic, so I know what you're going to say ahead of time. So, Ray, we have 3 choices here. Member of the band involved in a bus bombing rode a mule to the bottom of the Grand Canyon.
Well,
and you have the audience who has given you virtually no help because it's pretty much a tie.
I think the bus bombing was true. There's a lot of details there that she gave us, and it sounds like something that's really crazy. If that is the lie, it definitely happened to someone in your family or one of your friends.
Yeah.
But I think that one's true. I'm going to go with the mule being the lie.
Am I supposed to confirm or deny at this time?
I think you should confirm or deny.
Okay, well, I did have a tour across America when my daughter and I returned from Hawaii. We tagged it the Eat Across America tour because we stopped in every state and, you know, had their local cuisine, and it was wonderful. And we did stop at the Grand Canyon, and my daughter did scare me to death looking over the edge and getting too close. But unfortunately, at that time, the mule rides were no longer being offered at that time. So I did not go to the Grand Canyon and go on the mule ride.
All right.
What do you have, though? What do you have if they were open?
That was my question. Yes.
My daughter probably could have talked me into it because she can talk me into pretty much anything.
All right. Well, so it could still happen. So
yeah, I understand from someone who did go, evidently it just leaves you with a very sore behind.
I have lots of things to say about that, but I will not. Thank you, Mercedes.
Yeah, good guess. Hey, for my fun, I didn't get to put on my hat and sing.
Well, I would accompany you on guitar, but my guitar's resting. So if you want to belt something out, feel free.
I had something all set up. Let's see.
Do it. Oh, here we go.
I was going to start with the music, our band song, which is Pain. It was truly Pain, Passion, and Surrender. Pain, passion, and surrender. Surrender. I'm every woman, it's all in me. Anything you want done, baby, I do it naturally. But I can't stand the rain on my window pane, bringing back sweet memories. When it rains, do you remember how sweet love used to be? That's enough.
That's awesome.
Hey,
Look, even Archie was dancing.
Oh,
that was amazing.
That's awesome. I woke up the puppy, huh? Oh, my lap dog is here. Not a lap dog.
Well, that was awesome. Thank you, Mercedes. Appreciate it. Okay, Ray, we're all about you. And
No.
I know. So you have three very important things to tell us, and then we'll chat about you while we let the audience answer them. So why don't you tell me your three very personal, very true things that one of which is not true at all.
Okay. Well, the first one is I have ridden on the back of an ostrich on the golden beaches of Aruba. The second one is I have mushed a team of sled dogs in Fairbanks, Alaska. And the third one is I own a customized wooden flute that was supposed to go to the lead of the Chieftains, Matt Malloy. So those
I don't
are my
believe
three.
any of those things.
You guys want to see the biggest cat ever?
Yeah, we do.
Indiana Jones. He's actually lost weight. He used to be 26 pounds.
Oh my gosh. I thought I had the biggest cat ever, but now I realize I do not.
I think Elizabeth Anderson probably has the biggest cat ever. Have you seen that coon? It's huge.
So Ray, let's talk about your things here. So you play the flute, is that true?
Yeah, I used to be a flutist. It's how I made my living for a number of years after college, and my bachelor's degree is in flute performance.
Huh. I don't know that I believe that either. Here in Texas, we don't ride ostriches. We ride these longhorn steers. Can you tell me about how riding an ostrich is? What's that's like? I mean, how do you get on an ostrich?
They have to kneel down. They train them to kneel down so that you can get on with your knees behind their wings. They're huge. They are, however big you think an ostrich is, it's bigger than that.
So do you have like a saddle, or is
Nope,
this a
I
bareback?
didn't use a saddle.
And yeah. And racing sled dogs. So how did that come about?
Well, I used to live in Alaska. I lived there for 3.5 years, and my spouse's parents came up to visit. So we went to Fairbanks from Alaska. Fairbanks is closer to the North Pole. And that's where we saw the Northern Lights. And it was absolutely freezing. They had to get us a tent that we stayed in overnight to see them. And we raced sled dog teams while we were there.
So, yeah. So these were really good stories, but I think they're just stories. So if I want everyone to think about these and vote, we've got a flautist who races dog sleds when she's not on the back, riding bareback ostrich. So I don't believe any of these things. So let's see. Shall we launch our poll? And there you go. Now choose the lie. And you can only choose one, even though there's probably all three not true. But if they are all three true, they're excessively interesting. And the poll always launches like right over whoever's face I'm talking to. So Ray, tell us a little bit about yourself. You write, you're an author.
Yes.
And you write primarily spec fic fantasy, or?
Yes, science fiction and fantasy. My novel Lucky 7 won the GCLS Sci-Fi Fantasy Award in 2019 and the Rainbow Award that same year. And the sequel, Lucky 8, this is the proof. I just got it a few days ago. It's coming out March 1st.
All right, awesome.
Lucky 7, if you want to read the first one, it's going to be GCLS's book of the month for their book club next month in March.
Fantastic.
Excellent. Another member benefit of GCLS is the awesome book club. And so is there going to be a Lucky 9?
Yes, there is. It's a trilogy. It's a cyberpunk world where a bunch of queer misfits of all kinds, they form a crew where they each have a specialized skill. And they use those skills to pull heists on the corporations, kind of like Ocean's 11 style heists, but in virtual reality. So,
will there be any ostriches in your book?
No, but there are dinosaurs.
Oh, okay. I'm on board with the dinosaurs. So I read something online about you, and I was interested because my pen name is, well, it's not truly an anagram because I call it a fanagram because I had to add one letter to make it work, of my real name. So, but your pen name is an anagram. So tell us that story, if you don't mind.
Yeah, my pen name is an anagram for Armageddon. And it's a tongue-in-cheek because when I was growing up, Hurricane Katrina happened, and I saw a preacher on TV saying, "This happened because of the gays. It's the gays who made this hurricane destroy New Orleans." And I thought, you know what? Well, if I'm going to write stories about women loving women, I'm going to just be part of the Armageddon. I'm going to do my part to bring about the end of the world. So that was when I came up with my pen name.
Nice.
Yeah, they didn't tell me when I was young how powerful we gays would be when we grew up and took over the world.
I did not get that memo. I didn't.
Nope.
We meet on Tuesdays.
Not at all.
Okay, so I believe that you have like 3 more seconds to answer the poll question. 2 and 3. And let's see what the audience says. Wow, you know, it's very, very close. Very, very close. Lots of people, I believe the winning answer is that you have not ridden an ostrich. I'm going to, well, let's see here. I I love how it's bringing the surprise. I know that I'm asking Lynn Ames this question. Lynn, I know, right? So tell us, what do you believe? Which is she lying about? The ostrich, the dog sleds, the flautist?
Can I ask my teammates for a thumbs up, or a thumbs down?
No,
on what they,
no,
what
this
they
is all
think?
you. It's all you.
I can't, can they wink at me? No.
No, you cannot call a friend. You cannot, you cannot stop a passerby on the street.
Stop
This
cheating.
is not
I would never
Ash
hardly
cab.
ever cheat. I would never hardly ever cheat. I'm going to agree with the crowd. I think well, let me say this. I think I remember you telling the Alaska dog sled story, except for the fact that not having been to Alaska, I'm not sure they actually do the sled racing in Fairbanks. I think that may be a tell. However, since I can't Google it, and I have to go with my own devices, and I'm looking you in the eye, the right one, not the left one. Yeah, I don't think you've ridden an ostrich.
Can I share my screen?
Please share your screen.
No.
It's disabled. Please let me share my screen.
I'm scared.
Okay, you should be able to.
I'm
now.
excited.
Susie says try again.
I do so hate to be wrong.
Sorry.
I'm about to show you a picture of her on an ostrich, Lynn.
I know.
That would be so cool.
This is Stop the Steal. This poll was stolen.
It would be better if you had an actual ostrich in your house.
That would be
That
better.
would be impressive. But I think the cat might be part ostrich.
It says I have to quit and reopen Zoom in order to change my security preferences.
Oh, don't.
That's so sad. But yes, I have ridden an ostrich, and I have a photo of me on the ostrich. I will just have to upload it to Imgur and post the link in the chat. But yep, I have ridden an ostrich. It was very, very scary because they're huge.
Yeah.
And they smell weird, and they think that humans are sexy. So sometimes they'll try to do their mating dances for the people.
Now you can show us
That's
that,
not true.
like the mating dance of an ostrich. It's some kind of interpretive dance, perhaps. No, you're not buying that? Okay. So, well, that leaves two other things.
Did we lose her?
Nope, I'm here.
So which of the two other things is not true?
She's not talking to us anymore.
There, that should show you me on the ostrich.
Uh-huh.
Link in the chat. Link in the chat. All
Oh.
right.
Baby
So
Ray on the ostrich. The other one that is true, I do have a flute commissioned originally by Matt Malloy. Unfortunately, his mom died and he never picked it up. So after an amount of time, the seller just brought it to a flute camp that I was at in Saskatchewan. And I was lucky enough to pick it up. And it's a very special flute. I won't show this off now because it requires me to disassemble it, but you can take off the head of the flute and replace it with a shorter one, and it plays 1/2 step up. It plays in E flat instead of D, which is the key most Celtic flutes play in.
How cool.
Do you want to hear
That's
me
awesome.
yes, play us a bar or two or three.
Wow.
Awesome.
That sounds very Native American. That was beautiful.
That was very beautiful. It's very different than a traditional flute.
Yeah, that's called a
Really?
Bowen flute, and they're very expensive.
Well, hide that because the ostrich might step on it.
So I've never been sledding with sled dogs, but my spouse has, Tori went with his parents up to Fairbanks and did it without me because I had gigs I had to do.
Well, there's still hope for you. You can go sled dogging and maybe pick up Mercedes and go ride a mule to the bottom of the Grand Canyon. So lots of activities to come for you people.
There you go. There you go.
All right, Lynn Ames.
Yes.
It's your turn. So I think you're pretty much a pretty straight shooter, and you're probably going to tell us 3 truths and skip the lie. So, right?
Well, that's absolutely true. I mean, I spent many years in public relations, and the one thing that a PR person has is their integrity. So while I famously, sadly told my wife once, there are 1,000 ways to tell the truth, they are always true.
Well, we'll see about that. Okay, tell us 3 very special, very true, but one is a lie, things about you.
Okay, so I played tennis with Billie Jean King. Let me just say that I did see her serve. I did return her serve. I did, and in fact won any number of points off her. So there's number 1. And after we played, I actually took her out to lunch. We had a very interesting political conversation. She is very dialed in to politics. And by the way, if you talk to her in person, don't call her Billie Jean, call her Billie. She goes by Billie. She doesn't go by Billie Jean.
Well, I know because I saw her yesterday. We were playing a little tennis, and
Arson, honey, that racket
She has props.
doesn't look like it's been touched in about 90 years. Is that
well?
is that wood?
It's my
It's
special
also a
tournament
badminton
racket, and I have I've retired it because
I can't imagine why. Or maybe I can. So the second truth is that I dated briefly an Olympic gold medal super heavyweight wrestler.
What was her name?
His name. There is no super heavyweight wrestling in women's Olympics.
Yeah, I'm trying to trick you.
No, didn't work. His name is Jeff Blatnick, was Jeff Blatnick. He passed away, unfortunately, in 2012, and I didn't do that. He actually was suffering from, sorry, that was really in bad taste. Very, very lovely man. He had beaten, if all of you, none of you youngins are old enough to remember this, but it was the 1984 Olympics that he won the gold medal. It was a big upset, a huge surprise when he did. And he did it shortly after beating cancer. He had lymphoma, and he went to the Olympics and he won the gold medal, which I have not only, I haven't bid it, but I did see it and hold it. So there's always that. I mean, it's a great pickup line, right? Want to see my gold medal? Who doesn't want to do that?
They're really heavy, the gold medals.
Well, they're solid gold. So,
I know, but they're like really substantial. I mean, they're big.
yeah.
I held one too.
Oh.
I held Mark Tewksbury's medal.
I was going to say it wasn't his, was it? Now tell us.
No. Not cheating.
I held my uncle's.
So,
Okay, so
how did you meet Jeff?
How did I? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You want to go down that road?
No, I just, like, here, let me just say, did you meet him randomly or were you wrestling too? How's that?
I was not wrestling, mud or otherwise. I met him because I spent many years living in Albany, New York, and Jeff was from Niskayuna, New York, which is a suburb of Albany. He grew up there. He went to high school there. And he was we had mutual friends, and I hadn't quite figured everything out then exactly. I had a bad breakup.
Whether or not you liked wrestlers or not?
Yeah, I was on the fence about figured out. Actually, it was that I was on the fence about super heavyweight, the super heavy part of that. But in any event, so I met him because a friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours, thought that we would be, we'd really hit it off. And we did. He was a very, very nice man, a gentleman. He later got married. I didn't scar him emotionally when I, decided that that wasn't for me. He went on to marry a very nice woman, and he has 2 beautiful kids who are now pretty much grown up.
Well, that's a lot of good details. So either Lynn's a very good liar or this really happened. So tell us your
He
third
was a
thing.
journalist.
True.
Saying.
Fake news. So, the third thing is, many of you know that I was a spokesperson for the New York State prison system for a number of years. And I happened to be part of that time when I was spokesperson for the New York State prison system. One of our more famous inmates was Mark David Chapman, who, of course, many of you know, tragically murdered John Lennon. And John Lennon's 50th birthday, was a really kind of surreal experience for me, because everybody in the world was clamoring to know what it was Mark David Chapman was doing for John Lennon's 50th birthday. And so, I had the discretion to allow reporters in to do certain interviews. There was a big cry from, of course, the newspapers in London in particular, who wanted to know about Mark David Chapman and how he was celebrating John Lennon's 50th birthday. And so I facilitated and sat in on that interview.
Okay, to summarize, played tennis, and more importantly, ate lunch with Billie Jean King.
The lunch was more important than the tennis? What?
Sorry, but I'm a big luncher. Not much of a tennis player. Dated but did not scar, a Olympic super heavyweight gold medal wrestler. Interviewed Mark David Chapman on Lennon's birthday. 50th, right? 50th. Okay, so those, she had a lot of detail. I'm having a hard time with this one. So audience, why don't you go ahead and we'll launch this poll, and you're going to need to help out one of the newbies who will be tasked with answering this question. And there's the poll. And so Lynn,
Yes.
let's talk about you. Let's talk about you for a minute. Not what?
No.
Oh.
Hi, Cheryl.
No, I'm not in the middle of anything, really, honey.
You're late for afternoon tea.
Oh, I'm sorry, I have to go. I'm late for afternoon tea, apparently.
Hi, Cheryl.
Where's my tea?
I'll take your
Here's your
tea.
tea.
Oh, thank you, darling.
You're welcome.
Guess I'll just settle for this vodka.
The lie is that she
Yeah.
brings that to me every day.
Is that Murty's?
And you, no, darn it. I need Elizabeth Anderson to go to Canada. And she did not marry the heavyweight lifter, just so you know.
Apparently. Well, I don't know. I haven't seen you lift anything, Cheryl. So
although they
all I
look a
know.
little bit alike.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye, darling. Bye, Dix.
Bye.
There goes Dix. Out the door.
So how is Dixie? Dixie's your dog.
Dixie's, we have a song for Dixie, but I'm not going to sing it for you. We do. Every animal in this house has a theme song.
Well, everybody in my house has a theme song, and I would actually sing them, but hey.
Yeah. You really
Nope.
want to go there? You really want to go there?
Maybe. All right, let's talk about you. And how many GCLS conferences have you attended?
Every single one. Including virtual ones. Yep, right back to the beginning. First time I met Karen in person. Right?
First time I met Lynn Ames in person.
There you go.
First time I met either of them in person.
Not surprisingly to anyone who knows Karen, she complimented my heels.
Well, as Karen is
And my
wont-
first words were, I thought you were taller because of that picture on the back of that book.
Honey, everybody thinks I'm taller. Not anybody would know that that I was 4'2", really.
So Lynn, you have a fairly newish book out. It came out last year. And why don't you tell us about it?
This book is 46, as in the 46th President of the United States, who was actually Emma McMahon. See, Anne McMahon has brainwashed me. Emma McMaster's is the 46th president of the United States, cover by Ed McMahon, famous author. And 46, I wrote well before election time, well before, obviously, it came out in June. So you can imagine that I wrote this book a little while ago. It took me a little while to write. But I really wrote the book in order to, as kind of a love letter to readers. We were going through a very tough time, as we know, and I really wanted to lift people up. And, I got to asking the question, how in the world could we possibly unite this country again? How could we possibly restore love and healing and so on and so forth? And so this book was sort of my answer to the question. And one of the really cool things about that is, despite the fact that I wrote it quite a bit in advance, 6 of the things that I predicted in my book actually came true. So I'm really, really pleased with that. Thank God.
So you're going to have to read the book to determine which of those things are true. But when we're coming to back to here, we're going to show the poll results and see which things are true that Lynn has said to you today. And, oh, okay. So interesting.
Interesting. Okay.
So people think she really did play tennis with Billie Jean King and really did date the Olympic heavyweight wrestler. But people think you're a big fat liar about Mark David Chapman on Lennon's birthday. Well, and it's really kind of close. So, so hold that thought and let's go to Lisa Gold.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. You give me the most difficult one.
I know, right? I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, actually.
She's not sorry.
So why don't you, you've got some help from the audience. And so now you get to tell us which one you think is a big fat lie.
I'm actually going to agree with the audience on this one. Although the way she's telling them, they all 3 seem really plausible. But I'm going to go with, I don't think she interviewed David Chapman.
All right, so only one person knows the truth. And will she tell us the truth?
Okay, so here's the truth. Here's the truth. Okay, so I'll tell you. True. That would be Billie Jean King. That would be me.
I recognize her from the time we played. Yes.
Right. Yeah. That would be me. That would also be true. Jeff Blatnick.
Gold medal. I see that.
So you are correct in ferreting out the lie, but here is the truth. I was indeed spokesman for the state prison system at the time that John Lennon's 50th birthday happened. I did, in fact, get a phone call from a tabloid in London wanting to know what it was Mark David Chapman was doing to honor John Lennon's 50th birthday. And I famously told them that he was sitting in his cell with his head under the covers, listening to Beatles albums backwards.
Wow. Okay.
Nice.
Well, it was mostly true, except for the fact that I wasn't there in person, and I would never, ever, ever in my life, being a Beatles fan, have allowed any tabloid close to Mark David Chapman to glorify what he had done. Yeah, that wasn't going to happen.
So what we've learned is the Beth's lies are sprinkled with a little truth.
Always.
Yes. Okay.
But I never lie.
Contestants. Thank you, Lynn. Everybody go buy her book now, right now. But no, don't go right now. Stay here. Lisa Gold, I'm so excited to be talking to you because I have questions. But before I get to my questions, I would like you to tell us 3 things about you.
Okay. So the first one is, by the way, I hope everyone can hear me because it seems to be breaking up a little bit, but if not, just let me know.
Gotcha.
Okay, number 1. I completed a pig massage course. I have a certificate for it. It consisted of 3 parts. It was communicating with a pig massage, and pig Reiki.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
The second one is I was sawed in half as a magician's assistant. It was in, I believe, maybe sort of early 2000 at some point in Paradiso in Amsterdam.
Well, it was Amsterdam. Pretty much anything can happen in Amsterdam. I mean,
Yes. We were on stage before this Belgian band, and yes, I was magician's assistant for a while. And the third one, I sampled over 50 different dog treats. I didn't just chew them, I swallowed it as well.
okay, so to summarize, and then I have some questions. You completed a pig massage course. You were sawed in half as the magician's assistant, and you sampled and swallowed over 50 dog treats. Though I'm thinking not at once, like.
Not all at once.
Okay. Thank goodness. So we'll have a poll being launched, but in the meantime, to help you with your poll questions, I have some questions of my own, poll answers. I have some questions of my own. So I brought, well, let's see here. Okay, so I have my friend here, who I'm going to call Ernie, and Ernie is a pig. And I would like you to tell me, like, if I was going to really relax Ernie, where should I touch him?
Well, it depends on the approach, but the thing is, if it's a very big pig, it depends on the size. So with a very big pig, you should cover the pig with your own body if the pig is relaxed. But that usually comes after you've relaxed the pig. So you
like this?
Yes, you cover the pig with the full length of your body.
Okay.
You lay your head on its neck, and then you stroke them in certain places where the pig likes to be stroked. So it's like here, the neck area, it's the belly area, and it's like the thigh area, like the outside of the thigh and above the tail. Yes.
Above the tail?
Yes, and then you're supposed to try and sync your breathing with a pig's breathing, and it sends them to sleep. I'm not sure what the point of this is, but
Ernie's very happy now. And I'm a little disturbed, but that was kind of relaxing for me, actually. And speaking of things that aren't relaxing, sawed in half. So, you know, we can only see the upper half of you right now, so we don't know if this actually happened.
Maybe. I do have a bottom half as well.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that.
They put you back together after.
Yes.
I'm very, very pleased to see that. So how do they do that trick?
Well, there's actually, it looks like one box, but it's actually two boxes. And in the bottom box, there is another magician's assistant who is like sort of bent in half with her feet out. And then I got in with my head out on this side, and she was wearing the same stockings, like what you call it, tights and heels. And as soon as I slipped in, she slipped her feet out, and it's really uncomfortable because I had my knees up my chest, and she was like, had her head on her knees, and that's how you separate it. So there were always two people in there, but you just never see the first person who's at the bottom.
So all your bendy maneuvers with the pig really helped you kind of get into the magician's box. Yeah.
I actually got cramp really badly. I only did one performance. I got really bad cramp, and then I couldn't get out of the box because so many people were watching, and it was really hot and sweaty, and I couldn't see the audience because of the spotlight. So I decided it wasn't for me.
I'm feeling a very claustrophobic just hearing about this. All right, so
also the magician was.
So George's dog Archie wants to know all about these dog treats that you sampled, and I guess the main question that we all have is why Why?
Okay, so I recently moved to London. I moved in with a friend. She already has a giant schnauzer, and my 2 dogs are really spoiled because they used to eat restaurant food from leftovers from restaurants, like T-bone steak, stuff like that. And so we moved in here and we decided they all had to eat the same, but there was major food envy going on when they became a new pack. So we decided to do this like training thing where we put on this bingo song. Do you know the dog bingo song? B-I-N-G-O.
Oh yes, B-I-N-G-O.
And then during the dog bingo song, we would like give them treats. But then we realized we went through like 3 chickens a week doing this. So we decided to buy dog treats instead. So we ordered this big bunch of dog treats. And when it arrived on the first Friday night, everyone wanted the dog treats apart from El Comandante, my little dog, who's like really snobbish about food. So when I had a couple of margaritas, so I took a bite of it just to demonstrate that it was fine. And then he ate it. So ever since, we thought it was only fair that we try them all. And so every week we get new dog treats in and we take a bite of each and every one. And we've actually like made lists to like, you know, which one's best in flavor, which one we should never, ever try again. And, yeah.
Okay, well, can you provide us with the
I have
best?
to say the goat strips are the worst.
Well, yeah. I mean, goats are for pajamas, not eating. And so, do you have a margarita every time you have a treat? Eat a treat? Because I think that would be important.
Yes, because the dog treats arrive on Friday. We're a member of this thing that brings dog treats every Friday, and then we have margaritas on a Friday. So as long as we've had enough, we have the courage to try the scary things that arrive. I've even tried tripe stick, which is, my God, please don't ever try it. Georgia, don't do it.
Wow. Well, you're very convincing because I believe all of these things now. So, audience, you know, you've got a couple more minutes to answer this poll. And while they're doing that, why don't you tell us about, don't lie, but tell us, don't you have a new book out or recent book out? Tell us.
Yes. Blue came out 2 days ago.
I thought so.
Here we go. Yes, it's my 13th book under Lisa Gold. I also write erotic novellas under Madeline Taylor, which the latest one is Santa's Favorite, which was a Christmas book.
Your website says that under Madeline Taylor you write sizzling erotics, and I love that term. And then I saw Santa and I was like, oh, who doesn't want a sizzling erotic Santa?
The hot Santa, trust me. Oh, but yeah, anyway, so yeah, Blue came out 2 days ago, and I usually like travel to locations where my book is set, but like over the pandemic, it was quite difficult. So I've revisited in my mind places where I've been, and this is about 4 people traveling on a yacht from Antibes, France. It all starts in a castle in Switzerland, but they travel from Antibes, France to Bermuda on a boat, and there is a love affair, and there is a secret, and there is sadness, but you have to read the book to find out more about it. But I think overall it's got a hopeful message, and it will hopefully make people smile in the end.
Awesome. Well, I know that I see you writing, because you know you post a picture of you writing, and you write in the style that I would like to write, and that's where you have your laptop and then you have like a charcuterie and maybe a glass of wine. And it's like, that is how it's done.
It makes it fun.
Exactly. I love it. I love it. But I know
always think you have to create the atmosphere of what you.
I think that's a very good point. Very good point. But I love how you write. I love the little accoutrements you have, but I also know that one of these things you told us is a lie. And let's see what the audience said. Are we ready to launch the poll? I mean, the answers. All right. Huh, interesting. So it's kind of neck and neck with the pig massage and the magician's assistant. I hope the pig massage is true because Ernie and I have a date later. And I think Georgia has already ordered dog treats based on your recommendation. So let's see. Well, here we go. Georgia, would you like to guess?
This is a really difficult one, but I chose the magician's assistant because I thought that was pretty basic and she had a lot of detail on the other stuff. Now, running a very close second was the pig massage because I think any of us could have made that up on the fly. But it's also so completely crazy that I think it has to be true. So I'm going to say my magician's assistant.
Okay, so Lisa, you want to tell us the answer?
Yeah, I am clearly a bad liar because the magician's assistant is not true.
Well, I don't think you're a bad liar because lots of people pick dog treats and pig massage.
Oh, that was.
I will tell you though, I always wanted to do magic.
I loved it.
Yeah, it's always been a dream. I always had this box, and but I was a protege, but I was fired after 2 weeks. I never made it to stage.
Life is probably better because of it. How did this happen?
So I used to have a friend in high school, Femke, and we used to play pranks on each other and we loved to embarrass each other. And one year she said, I can't think of anything worse than tickling therapy. And so I saved up. And because I was 16, I mean, it was a lot of money at the time. It was worth it to buy it for her birthday, just so she'd be super embarrassed. And so she had 9 months to think about what she'd give me in return for my birthday. And so she gave me this pig massage course. And of course, she took great, joy in taking pictures of me, like lying on top of this pig, covering them, kissing them, whatever. Anyway, I had a really great day, I have to say, but the point was we were only like 17. We had to take the train back and we both smelled really bad.
Somewhere there are pictures of Lisa
and a pig.
Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate it. All right, Georgia, you're up, and no one's going to think you're a liar when you're holding a sweet little puppy in your arms.
That's exactly why I'm holding a sweet little puppy in my arms.
Well, I would like you to tell us 3 things about yourself, one of which is a big fat lie.
Well, it's interesting to have listened to some of these because everything is so outlandish or like amazing, like different countries and different cool stuff. And mine are all really very kind of simple and close to home. My first one is that I can knit a chain, and I knit a chain until I made it big enough to be a blanket. And I gave it to my mom for Christmas, and then I never knit anything again because it was horrific and I don't ever want to knit. It's a pandemic. I had to find something to do. My second one is that I have 2 nieces named Alexis and 2 nephews named Joe and 2 nephews named John. Absolutely true. On 2 different sides of my family. Makes Christmas and stuff very interesting. And the third is that I was named after a mobster's wife. There is a woman who was a supermodel. I'm sorry that I'm rocking, but my dog is getting a little, of course, he's very quiet this entire time. And now that I'm talking, he's awake and moving and wants to know what's going on. Say hi to the world, Archie. There's a woman named Georgia Durant who was born in Rochester and was a Kodak supermodel and a stunt driver and married a mobster and wrote about it. She has a memoir, and that's where my name came from.
Okay, so your parents named you after a supermodel.
Correct.
Is that, and did you say race car driver? Stunt?
She was a stunt driver.
Stunt driver. Oh, okay.
Yeah, like a celebrity, like for Hollywood.
So your parents couldn't, name you after somebody sweet and nice. It had to be a stunt car driver, somebody crazy.
My dad said he only knew 2 Georges in his life, and they were both very beautiful and very successful, and thus he named me that. My mother had very little say.
Well, I think, I think that was fortuitous. And so, and then your family also, although you got named Georgia after somebody very, exotic, they just named everybody else the same name.
Yes.
They used it all up with you.
Yes, correct.
So this knitting thing is kind of curious to me, because I have heard that when people start knitting, that it becomes like an obsession. It's kind of like
what I thought would happen. That's exactly what I expected to happen. I can only do so many puzzles.
And so I bought these things because I thought maybe you could show me about knitting. And this is some.
That's almost the same color that I used. Mine was a little bluer. That looks a little greener, but that's almost the same color I did it in. And let me see your needles, because I just had like beginner needles.
I'm a psychic. I knew what color. And well, I just have this one needle. I don't really know how it
works. I used 2. It was 2.
Okay.
And I don't know what size they were because somebody gave them to me, but all I can do is a chain. That's it.
Do you have to take it out of the packaging to use it?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not so big with the
back and forth. I did back and I attached it to each other. I kept doing it till it was big, and then I sent it to my friend Nikki Smalls so she could put a border on it so it wouldn't fall apart on my mother.
Yeah,
Nikki's a great knitter.
That's the reason I started knitting. Because I watched Nick. Awesome. I could make stuff. I have all this time. No, I'm terrible. I'm terrible.
Yeah, I don't believe that one, because I watch Nikki knit obsession, and there's all these little knitting groups and people are doing all these things.
I know. That's what I thought would happen. That's what I thought would happen. That I would get really good. I would make like animals. You see the stuff that Nikki makes? I want to do that
one.
Yes, me too. I thought I would be able to make those.
I don't know.
Sari Crystals make some cute little animals too.
Yes, Lynn has one too. I have one of those. I wanted to make those. It's hard.
Indeed. Okay, so I don't believe you about that one, but that doesn't mean anything, because what do I know about knitting? I didn't know you had to take the needle out of the packaging, so don't be influenced by me, anyone. Let's launch that poll and let people answer. And in the meantime, let's talk about you, Georgia.
Yeah.
And first we'll talk about your writing. So you have just so many books out, I don't even know. Yeah. I'll never catch up to you, even though I try.
You are one behind me. What do you mean you'll never catch up to me? All I need to do is
writing new ones.
If I'm unconscious for a month, you'll pass right by me.
I know, right? Maybe you could take up knitting.
No, I'm not doing that again. And you know what? My grandma taught me how to crochet. So I assumed that knitting would be just as easy. Yeah. No, not even close.
I don't even know those were 2 different things. So
they are. They have different hooks. Crochet has a hook and knitting has needles.
You seem to know a lot about this.
Telling you.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, so what's your latest book and what's upcoming for you?
In December, 16 Steps to Forever came out. So that's available now. And then I'm like smack dab in the middle of 2 books. So we're in February. So in April comes The Secret Poet, which is the next book. That is a little take on the Cyrano de Bergerac trope, with somebody helping her brother woo someone that she actually has feelings for. And then I am in the middle of writing another series. It's my second series. I haven't written a series since the Puppy Love series. This one is called Swizzle Stick Romances. Yeah, with your giant cup of vodka, your giant glass of vodka. And that is about 3 Italian cousins who are all lesbians, and their family owns a bar, and they all hang out in the back room of the bar, and each of them goes through a love story, and we get to experience new drinks, and it's kind of fun. It's been fun just like playing with mixology.
Are they all named Alexis?
No, they are Julia and Vanessa and Amelia.
I'm very much looking forward to that one. I like the titles of the books. It's like
Yes.
Shaken, Not Stirred.
Yep, Shaken or Stirred, On the Rocks, and With a Twist are the names of the books.
Perfect, perfect. So tell us about Archie.
Archie, I had no intention of getting a puppy. I went to a rescue to get an older dog or something adult because I am old myself and do not have the energy for a puppy. Surprise, now I have Archie. But I think Finley sent them to me. He looked at me, he looked me in the eye with these big, beautiful eyes. I don't know if you can see them because he's very dark, but he looked right at me in my arms with those eyes, and that was it. I knew he was the one. And I put him down several times and he kept coming back to me. And so that was it. Oh, baby.
Well, it's sad that he doesn't seem to like you, but I bet he'll warm up to you eventually.
He sleeps through the night. I would like to point out, he sleeps through the entire night. Emmett's a little bit out of shape, but we're working on it.
So you've rescued 2 animals this year or in the past.
Yes.
Pandemic animals.
My 1-year anniversary with Emmett is next week. So my boys.
So when you read all the animals in Georgia's books, you know she knows what she's talking about. But does she know what she's talking about when it comes to knitting mobsters' wives and naming people? And so let's hear the answers to our poll. And we've got, no one believes you're a knitter because, you know, whatever. But, you know, actually, this is pretty neck and neck here. So people think you're lying about all 3 of these things. And Maria, you will tell us the truth. Which do you think it is?
Now, let's see. This one's a bit tough because I could see Georgia at least trying to knit. I could see it. And with as good as I see that she says she is a baker, she's very meticulous about things.
What you're trying to say is that when she decides to do something, she goes all in, right?
I think so, yes. And knitting does take some patience, and you have to really follow directions. And so I could see that happening. And I could see that just being done once because I want to throw my knitting needles at the wall many times. I can also see her gifting that thing that she made because it seems like a Georgia kind of thing. Mobster's wife, I would say that sounds like a very glamorous, you know, with all the other descriptions, so that's a possibility. So I'm gonna say possibly the names of the family members, only because I can only recall one niece that she speaks of, and I don't know that she would leave other people out. So I'm going with her nephew's names and nieces.
But Georgia, she doesn't have these other people in your line, these other relatives. They're made up.
Who are they? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're really there, I love you guys. You're great.
So nice. All right, reveal the truth unto us.
Well, my sister Tosca has a son named Joe and a son named John. And my sister-in-law Beth has a son named Joe and a son named John. And my niece Mickey has a sister named Alexis, and my sister Lori has a daughter named Alexis. So those are all true.
They're not so much with the originality, those folks.
Not so much for the originality. My sister Tosca's son's name is Jonathan, and Beth's son's name is just John. So, but we call them both Johnny. So there you go.
Technically a lie, so I win.
absolutely was named after a mobster's wife. She grew up in Rochester. My father knew her, Georgia Durante. Look her up. She's got a book.
Wow.
I've never met her, but she was the Kodak girl in Rochester in the early 80s, I think. I think she was 17 years old, and I think she's a little older than my parents. So yeah, so that's true. I can't knit a goddamn thing. I hate knitting. I tried it. It's horrible. I gave up. Poor Nikki wanted me so badly to be able to knit. It hurts my hands. It frustrates me. Like you, Maria, I want to throw things across the room. I've knit one chain and that's all. Very bad.
So that's a very small
Wow.
blanket that your mom has.
Georgia Beer, successful novelist, horrible knitter.
Yeah, I have a whole set of a whole bunch of different needles. I don't know what to do with them. I want to stick them and use them to hold on my plants.
Well, I guess I'll quit my hobby before it begins.
It's hard to do.
Wrong endorsement.
I don't have the patience, and honestly, it hurts my hands.
Yeah.
It's
it
not
could
bode
be.
well for me 20 years from now.
It's pretty tough. That is awesome.
All right, Maria, are you prepared to tell us 3 things
I'm
about you?
prepared. And I never lie, so these are all true. You know it. So, all right. So I once spent New Year's Eve in Iceland, Reykjavik, Iceland, where an entire city put on a fireworks show that lasted not this little 20, possibly 30-minute show that you might get on these specials, or if you go to, you know, if you happen to see one in your town. But this one lasted several hours. And it went on and on and on. I was like, okay, I'm tired. I'm going home. Good night. It's cold.
You didn't skip the finale?
Oh, there were a lot of finales.
You're like, this must be
it's going to be over, and then it was just never over. Okay, so another one is that I once got to meet a world famous cellist, Yo-Yo Ma. But I was so starstruck, much like when I met Georgia Beers and many of you on this this little rectangle of awesomeness here. And later, I was so embarrassed because I could only utter "hi" when he shook my hand, and that was it. I was so excited, and but that's all I could say. Terrible, embarrassing. The last one is that I was the second chair violinist in my high school's orchestra. And I was only mildly, just a teeny bit jealous of the person who was placed in the first chair position. I had slight, daggers for her, but it was okay. We were a good team and we had a good orchestra. So, those are all of my truths.
Carson, if you pull out a violin, I am going to fall out of my chair.
Well, I
You
didn't want to
have crushes on everyone else in the orchestra. What kind of queer person are you? If you didn't have crushes on everyone else, all the other girls in the orchestra.
Didn't know back then, and there was a mix of boys and girls, so.
Well, Maria doesn't want to say this because, we did have a rivalry for a long period of time when I was the first year violinist. I mean, first chair. But,
That's exactly how you hold it.
you just got to bring the bigger instrument, Maria.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Yeah, I wanted to get with like all 3 of the other girls in the flute section. Maybe I was just a thirsty teenager. You probably had a
We
better
were all
experience.
thirsty teenagers.
It's true.
All right,
do
to
things-
summarize, this is somewhat thematic. Second chair violinist in high school, rendered speechless upon meeting Yo-Yo Ma, or watched an infinitely long fireworks display in the cold of Iceland with many, many finales. So we'll get the poll launched and let's talk, Maria. So tell us all about your latest book. And I'm kidding.
No, yeah, my latest book is textbooks that I'm going to be reading here shortly.
Yeah, you're just about to start graduate school, right?
Yes, I have my master's already in nursing, and so I will be starting my PhD program in the summer, which I am so excited about.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I love nursing academia, and so that is I finally figured out what I want to be when I grow up, and the PhD is will give me the option of doing whatever I want in academia. So
that's excellent. I'm excited. But as far as GCLS goes, so you're on the newbie team, but not so much. I mean, I don't really consider you a newbie because you've served on the board, right?
I have. I still say it's a fluke, but back in 2016, I was a big follower of, or I heard about GCLS when Radcliffe and had mentioned it in one of her Facebook postings, and I figured the best way, and I found out there was a conference, and so I figured the best way to meet people, because I will tend to ramble. I ramble a lot, but I'm super shy, and so I figured I would volunteer. And so I wanted to pretend that I knew what I was doing and that I, belong there the whole time. So,
well, fooled us all because
yeah, Mercedes was the first board member that I met, along with Lori Lake and a few others. Georgia Beers was the very first author I saw when I came down the stairs. Just when I was like, okay, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna say hi to people.
We did.
And I was very starstruck. I remember she was sitting with Nikki Smalls and Nikki's wife, and it was a blur after that, so there might have been a whole crowd. I don't know. Yeah. Yes, I got to be the director of membership, along with Susie, who's right now behind the scenes, making sure we get all our polls going. And then I also am currently the director of diversity and inclusion, which I'm also a committee member for at the university that I work for as well. So it's fantastic. And I also, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so if you, if someone's watching and they're not a member of GCLS, what do you have to tell them two important reasons for joining?
Well, this is definitely a place where if you love loving women literature, this is like the home that will just embrace you in a giant big hug, whether it's virtually right now or one day when we finally get to see each other again and go to our conferences, you get a hug in person. So everyone is really personable. I still don't know how I'm on this panel, but here I am because everybody's just awesome. And we are definitely an inclusive organization, and welcome everyone into the organization and who supports women-loving women literature. So if you are lesbian, gay, straight, bi, trans, whoever you are, if you are writing or supporting or are supporters of those who write and support us, we are definitely welcome.
Excellent, thank you so much. So let's see. I think we have some poll results. We should have some poll results. Let's see what they are. Okay, interesting. So everybody believes, wow, that this is kind of the biggest margin I think we've had so far. No one believes you about the fireworks. Which, I kind of don't believe you about the fireworks either, because,
I'm just a horrible storyteller. That's really what it is. I need to be on paper.
I doubt that. Seriously.
Well,
not tell us the answer. Do not tell us the answer, because I'm going to call on someone to and I bet y'all have figured out who I'm going to call on. I'm going to call on Karen. Karen Holmaker.
I'm here.
You have your audience help there. Now you get to choose which you think is correct.
I do. I have no problem believing that Maria was speechless meeting Yo-Yo Ma. I have covered myself in shame meeting famous people as well. Just stood there, mouth agape and hi. And yeah, I've been there. So I'm very empathetic about that. And I associate musicians with a certain elegance of movement, and Maria's got all that going on. So I kind of believe the violinist part. Fireworks, though. My memory is that in sub-zero temperatures, it's really hard to put up fireworks. That when you put the explosives up and they go into sub-zeros, they don't behave like they would normally. Of course, if anyone was going to solve that, it'd be Iceland, right? They'd figure it out. So I'm going to go with the fireworks.
So she's going to go with the audience, that the fireworks is, that's a big fat lie. Maria, do you want to tell us?
Well, I will say that I also, along with my nursing career and teaching career, I used to be in the military. I was in the Navy for 20 years. And my very favorite all-time duty station was in Iceland. And there was a time where I was there for one New Year's Eve stint, and I packed up my kiddos, and I heard that Iceland has wonderful, or I thought it would be a great idea to drive to the president's house, because you could back then. You could just drive up the street and park in front of somebody else's house, and there was the president's house, which was a female at the time. And I was like so in awe that we could have a female, or a country could have a female president. And we, some people started driving up beside me, because like I said, I was on a residential road, and they started pulling out this giant box and setting it up on the road. And I was like, what's going on? And then a few minutes later, these fireworks came out of that box. And so in Iceland, apparently, from what I was told, the residents in Reykjavik, or throughout the land, save money throughout the year. And it's the residents who put off the fireworks within the city. And they hold their own, the city, of course, holds its own. But you will see these industrial-sized fireworks going off throughout the city, in urban areas within the heart of the city. And it was such a fantastic sight to see. It lasted, I gave up at 2.5 hours. I was done. It was really cold. And I appreciate your science, Karen, but somehow they made it through, because I was freezing. So we're kids, so we left. But it was wonderful. I was the second chair violinist in my high school, and I fell in love with the orchestra in 5th grade when I heard them play the Sleeping Beauty Waltz, and I wanted to play that one day, and I had been in the orchestra ever since throughout high school. I did not, I didn't go on to college, but I do still have violin that I really enjoy, and it's not my violin. It doesn't work that way, Carson. This is actually my daughter's violin, because both of my children, I told them they had to pick a sport and an instrument, and they both picked the violin, and they also both picked the drums. So that was pretty cool. So lastly, that leaves Yo-Yo Ma. So I did get to go to a Yo-Yo Ma concert. I was so happy and excited, but I had to sit. It was like the orchestra. I don't know what seating it was called, but I kind of got to see the back of his head while he was playing. It kind of like wrapped around this U-shaped thing, and I was on the back of the U. And so no, I never got to meet Yo-Yo Ma, but I can imagine that is exactly how I would act. So good try, Karen. The cello, however, is my favorite instrument. So
I picked the second chair because I figured you were the first chair.
oh, where my jealousy came in. You never know it, but when I was a little jealous. Okay.
But we're friends now, even though I was
That's right, Carson. I'll take back all the things I said.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks, Maria. I appreciate you. Thanks for being here today. Karen Callmaker, will you tell us 3 things about yourself? One of which is a big fat lie.
You want 2 truths and a lie.
I do.
Okay. So my first statement is that my very first girl crush was on Mary Poppins. And it could be a trick question. It's a trick, maybe it's a trick question, because everybody who knows me knows that Batgirl really, really figures heavily into my psyche. I mean, purple motorcycle, purple stilettos, librarian. But, you know, Mary Poppins could clean up the nursery with the snap of their fingers, went up the banister, and could talk her way around men and get her way. This was all awesome too. So,
is it Mary Poppins or is it Julie Andrews?
That's what I want to know.
Yeah, could be Julie Andrews because so I'm just going to say my first girl crush was on Mary Poppins.
Okay.
Next one is that I had a college professor that I detested. I mean, from the first class. I went into class, and the first thing we were told, among the first things that we were told, was that we were bad people if we ate strawberries out of season. And it did not get better. I really detested him. So I did what we all do, ended up a character. And I disliked him so much that I couldn't come up with a name. So I named him Bullshit Artist and actually typed that into the manuscript. And
oh, wait, I know where this is going.
You know where this is going, right? We've all been there. Oh, change it, global replace, it'll catch it all. Yeah, so then I had a 7 a.m. phone call from Barbara Greer that I can tell you all about, but in the interest of time, I won't go into detail about that. But there was a 6-person process at NIAID at the time, and it was on the final eyeball on the way to a 12,000 copy print run. So that was not a fun conversation to have with Barbara Greer. And so you can decide if that's true or not. And then the third is really quite simple. I appeared in a film with Charlton Heston, and the youngins may not know who. Well,
I think this is my prop for you. Please let it be Soylent Green. Please let it be Soylent.
So Charlton Heston was very tall. That's, the camera did not make that up. So that's it.
Thank you, Susie.
Thank you, Susie, for being our tech person.
I was actually talking to Nell Stark about Soylent Green, and I was just shouting randomly, Soylent Green is people, and she was like, what does that even mean? And I'm like, I am old, that's what that means.
Soylent Green is people. You damn hairy ape. You got to be a certain age, right?
True. What film was it that you were in with Charlton Heston?
It was, I want to get it right. Lasting Love.
He wasn't
but it's called Lasting Love.
Okay. Fine.
But you can IMDb and you will not find my name because it's under my family name.
And what book was this that Bullshit Artist almost got left in?
It was Substitute for Love. The character ends up being called Clay, which suited him and his feet perfectly. I really disliked him. I rarely disliked a person that much. It was one of those, when I went to class, I had knots in my stomach. I disliked being there so much. It was supposed to be about advertising, the business major,
But instead It was about strawberries and
it was about being a totally good and perfect human being as defined by the privileged white male running the class.
Been there.
Yeah.
All right, let's launch that poll. And we've got first girl crush, Mary Poppins, Big whoopsie in naming a character bullshit artist, and appeared in a film with Charlton Heston, not Soylent Green, much to my dismay. So Karen, you've written, a couple of books, and yeah.
Although everybody else puts me to shame, I got a big head start, and you have all gained on me. I mean, some of you have gone past me, so.
Well, yeah, because you just, lollygag and,
I do.
Riding on her laurels.
Exactly. So
Oh.
how many books do you have out, Karen?
I'm working on number 30. Well, and then under another name, I have several more. So, and then there's anthologies and collections, and I did the things with Radcliffe, and so it's after a while, it's hard to count.
Yeah, I see.
You start getting really general. 30. I don't know.
3 dozen works of fiction.
Right. Keep track now. That's free pro tip to all the newbies. Keep track of your titles and the names of your characters. Do it at that first book, because later you're going to find that your go-to is calling everybody Marilyn, and then people start pointing out there's a character in every book named Marilyn, and then they say, "So who's Marilyn?" And you go, "I don't know anybody named Marilyn," and who knows? That's why I'm picking it. But
maybe that's what happened to George's relatives. They just lost track.
Who knows?
Well, if you name it after, one Lexi or the other, they're going to say, well, which one is it?
You need an Excel spreadsheet, people.
Exactly. So tell us about the one you're working on now.
I'm working on Simply the Best, which you should hear a little Tina Turner song going in your head.
Thank you.
I had it about halfway done when the pandemic really got serious, and one character and a setting no longer made any sense to me. They might have still made sense, but it didn't make any sense to me. And if it doesn't make sense to me, it doesn't work. So it's like a double helix. I had to take it and rip it in two, and I took half for the next book, and I was left with the other half and a lot of knitting. So it's been a real journey. Thank goodness my publisher is so flexible. But where I've ended up, I'm very close to being done and sending it off. Was that I was writing actually sort of my experience of the last couple of years, because one character didn't start out, but ends up being someone who's been just completely devastated and broken by all of the things that we've gone to, and is looking at the world in a very jaded and hopeless way. So meets somebody and can't believe in that person's hope. So that's the central disconnect between them. She's a jaded New Yorker, and she has to go do a nice puff piece, a journalist, a nice puff piece on a women's .com that sells all sorts of interesting things, including yoni eggs. And she's finding it very hard to be nice in LA with all the fakery and the false, pretense, and she just has no patience for it. And so then she meets the beach blonde. Yeah.
So are you writing the pandemic in your books?
It's slightly post-pandemic. The fact that there was a pandemic, and that as well as all the other things that have happened, is all very definitely a part of the book.
I'm throwing everything under the title of dystopia. I was at the hardware store yesterday in the Lowe's, in the parking lot, and there was like a police tower, and it kept saying, there's no one in the tower, but it kept saying, please stay 6 feet away, from other people. And it was just this very I'm in a weird, movie.
It's surreal. It's surreal. I think for many of us, we're like civilians who've been through a war, and we don't know how to cope. At least that's where I kind of ended up. So I'm hoping that the book will be very hopeful and very personally, these are personal solutions that people find. Love doesn't fix everything, but it sure helps.
Yeah, definitely. So what's it called? Or do you know?
Simply the Best.
Simply the Best. You said that. I'm sorry. I was just distracted by Tina Turner's mention. And when should we expect it? Maybe kind of
August.
Awesome. August. All right. So I bet you're telling the truth about that, but I bet you lied about something else, and we're going to find out what it was. So we have the poll, and interesting. And no one thinks you appeared in a film with Charlton Heston. I think, because it wasn't Soylent Green. I mean, if you'd just gone with that, you probably would have scored.
Oh,
I don't know.
Say.
I know. And then the other two are kind of close behind. So Kay Ayton is our newbie, but she's gonna bring us all home with her answers. So you want to tell us what you think?
I absolutely believe that Karen's first crush was on Mary Poppins, because I mean, even if it's not even your generation, like for years, Mary Poppins, like all of us grew up watching that on TV, like every year, that and the 10 Commandments, but whatever. Nobody else remembers that every year? Mary Poppins, 10 Commandments, and Follow the Yellow Brick Road.
Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz.
Always the Wizard of Oz.
Exactly, every year. So I believe that one. And I believe that you named somebody bullshit artist to be renamed later, because I feel like everybody has done something like that. But if I were in a movie, even a bit part, and it were enough to tell other people that I was in this movie, and it had someone like Charlton Heston in it, I would not hesitate to name that movie. Agreed. I'd be like, yep, I was in this. And you stumbled a little trying to remember what the name of the movie was. So with my detective hat, I have deduced that it was Charlton Heston in the ballroom with the lead pipe.
Maybe she was being humble.
Have you met Karen?
Or maybe Karen and I are just old.
Well, I don't remember what I ate 5 minutes ago.
Exactly.
Karen, would you like to tell us the lie?
The lie. You want to know the lie?
Lie.
The lie is the bullshit artist.
Bullshit artist.
Bullshit artist. It is true that I named the character. I was in the first chapter and the character appeared and I typed bullshit artist. And then I had this horrible, anxiety attack that I would not get them all changed. And I would end up with a 7 a.m. phone call from Barbara Greer. I was in terror of 7 a.m. phone calls from Barbara Greer. So I stopped at that very moment and I retyped it and just typed in something like, mushroom or something that I knew I would be able to find. But then I stopped writing and had to name him right then and there. Otherwise I knew one of them would end up in print and there would be. And I'd have that call from Barbara Greer, which no.
Nobody
you don't want to fight that kind of call from Barbara Greer.
No.
To be fair, I've gotten almost all of these wrong, so I didn't have high hopes on this. Like it's a bad sign the audience is matching my guess, so.
What we've learned is you can lie to Kate and she will not know.
You can call me Kelly.
I haven't done any of them right, so yeah, I've been wrong on all of them. But it was in a film project with Charlton Heston. It was a documentary. I never met him, never, the producer came to our house and filmed us here. And it was called Lasting Love. And it had a complicated subtitle, and that's why I got confused about remembering what the name was. But it was called Lasting Love. It was the secrets of long-term couples. And the Hestons had been married at that point for like 40 years, which in Hollywood is a big deal. And my partner and I had been together for 25 years at that point, and now we're going on 40 something. 40 something.
It's like
I'm going with humble.
Stop counting after a certain number.
I'm definitely still going with humble.
45, Karen.
Of your kids, you get that wrong too. So, okay.
So Karen, before I let you go, I think you said you'd been to every GCLS conference?
I have.
Okay, what are your favorite two things about GCLS?
Well, I can tell you the thing I'm looking for most is I'm collecting on every single person who's promised to hug me. I'm collecting on all of you. And then I'm going to forget that I hugged you and I'm going to hug you again. So just be braced. It's happening. If you don't want to hug, give me the no hug. But I can hear, I don't want a hug, but really, if you promise me a hug, it's happening. I think my single favorite thing is still, it's the sound when you've got this room full of 300 loving, enthusiastic people and they all laugh together. It's just an amazing thing. And it's like this incredible inoculation of energy that I carry away with me. And I'm definitely missing.
Yeah, I think we could all use an influx of some people.
Yeah.
Even if you're not a people person, it's been a long time.
I'm an introvert and I spend all my extrovert energy at the conference.
At the conference. And for those of you that don't know, Karen invited me to my first GCLS conference because hers was the first lesbian book that I'd read, and it was Making Up for Lost Time. And I immediately began making up for lost time. And I went to the conference and met Karen and met so many people. And it's been an awesome, awesome thing in my life since.
That's a great testimony. So Kelly, your author name is Kay Ayton, correct?
Yes.
Am I right? I say that so everybody can look you up and go buy all your books right now. But in the meantime, let's hear what you have to say. I would like you to tell me a few things about yourself, one of which is not true.
All right. Well, I own 2 accordions because when I was a kid growing up, my grandma and my great uncle, they both played the accordion and they were both my grandma's accordions. And they actually, my grandma's name was Faith, and they traveled around like the local community. They played a couple folk festivals. They would play in the nursing homes and they called themselves Faith and the Hopeless. So my grandma and my great uncle each played an accordion, a button accordion. And the friend of the family, TK, he played banjo and guitar and fiddle, and they would play like folk songs, stuff that most people before 1890 haven't heard of. Other stuff, Danny Boy, You Are My Sunshine, Golden Slippers, just a lot, Red River Valley, stuff like that. They would travel around and play as this little band. And I was the roadie when I was in high school, whenever they would play, so I'd carry the boxes with the accordions into the nursing home. And my grandma also played, she played harmonica. And so it wasn't until the day that my grandma died that I realized I too could play the harmonica, because it was the mechanics of it were just like the accordion, where there's a note going in and a note coming out. And so I can play a couple songs on the accordion, and I can play a couple songs, like the same songs on the harmonica, but it's been a little while. So that is my first truth. My second truth is that when I was born, my mom noticed that I had really weird eyes. And she waited because the doctor kept telling her, oh, her eyes they'll change because babies are born with eyes a certain way. And then it was like 6 months later and she's like, hey, doctor, when are her eyes going to change? And the doctor's like, well, they should have changed already, and she's like, no, they're different. So it turns out I have heterochromia. I have 2 different color eyes, a brown and a green one. And I'm still, they haven't changed. I have had them my whole life. People sometimes will know me for years and not realize that I have 2 different color eyes. That is my second truth. And my third truth is that before living over here, where I'm at, I live in Michigan. Michigan is like one of the brew capitals of the United States, right? There's a ton of all those pop-up craft breweries. And I previously lived on the other side of the state in the Grand Rapids area, which is a pretty big area. And there are so many breweries over there, ones that people all over the country are familiar with. A lot of people know Founders, Bell's, who does Oberon. Everybody, loves Bell's. They pop the orange in. Saugatuck, New Holland Brewery. So I have tried at least 30 different craft brews. I love craft beer. And I probably tried like 50 different beers all together, but all my friends used to go and hit the breweries, and sometimes we do a brew hop. And in the Grand Rapids area specifically, you can get a little passport. And when you go into the brewery, you can actually get your passport stamped. So it's just a really cool program they have over there. And that is my third truth.
Okay, so to summarize, you you own and play 2 accordions, and you also play harmonica, which is fascinating to me because it seems like that would be really hard. And you have one.
I didn't say I played it well.
Hey, you play it at all. Like, that's pretty impressive. You have 1 green and 1 brown eye, and sometimes people don't even notice. Is it just like a light hits them kind of thing, or?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you sampled like hundreds of beer?
At least 30 different Michigan craft beers.
So have you sampled this Founders beer here, this KBS?
I have not tried the KBS, no.
Well, here, I'm going to hand it to you. Why don't you take that beer? There you go. Oh, excellent. Thank you. Very impressed. How about this Yeti Imperial Stout here?
No, but I was going to get that one from my wife. I saw that at a local grocery, like not a grocery, but a place that has a ton of different alcohol. It's really a nice place. I mean, it just has every alcohol you can think of. So it's kind of nice during the pandemic.
That is a nice place. So, so you've sampled all these beers. Do you like beer?
Yeah, I love craft beer.
Awesome. Well, I guess you would have to if you sampled it. I just wonder if someone drug you along to sample them. Okay, so we can't really see your eyes. I've been trying this whole time to stare into your eyes and tell if I can see the colors. Can anybody else? Has anybody else got a verdict on that one?
Glasses are wonderful.
You just move a little closer to the camera.
Oh no! Oh no!
All right, and I've been looking around the room to see if I see accordions. I don't see any, but you did have a beer or something in your hand. I don't know. Okay, so let's launch the poll, and there we go. It's up, and let's have the audience vote. And while they're voting, so tell us about your works. Would you classify it as science fiction, speculative fiction?
I'm mostly speculative fiction. I always joke that I write what I like to read. So, and since I like to read mostly speculative fiction, I make some, allowances for the romance category. Occasionally, like behind me on a shelf are a fuck ton of Karen Kallmaker. And yep, I said it. Because honestly, you were one of the first people that I discovered. I didn't even know that female fiction existed. And I stumbled into it back in the days when I still went to before I converted to ebook. So I've got quite a few Georgia Beers. I've got some
timing, Jilly.
And so it's just, but I didn't know that I could get everything I wanted. And I would say the last maybe 5-10 years, the speculative fiction and the women loving women romance has really exploded, and that is so close to my heart because I grew up reading Asimov, Mercedes Lackey, Anne McCaffrey, Robert Heinlein. I grew up reading all of these, Piers Anthony, the fantasy, sci-fi, and to find these genres that I love with not just strong female protagonists, but to find that romantic element too that I feel like I can connect with. It was just kind of amazing. And then when I started writing, I gravitated toward the same thing. I've written 12 novels, only 2 were not some sort of speculative fiction.
Well, I think it's great when I hear people say, I didn't see it. I didn't see as much of it, and then I just decided to do it myself. That's how we get new great works. So thank you. So how many Golden Crown conferences have you been to?
My first one is in 2018, and I loved it. That was Vegas. And my second one was in 2019. and I loved it even more. That was Pittsburgh.
Didn't you win a Goldie?
We
I
won
did.
the same year. We're buddies.
We are. We both won a Goldie in the sci-fi category, and then like she came down, and then I hugged, and I was in such a daze that apparently I forgot the box because I'm like, how did you get a box? I don't have a box. And then the announcer came down with the box, and they're like, you left this. But yeah.
I got the wrong award, so I got Missouri Bonds Award.
All right. Well, I don't feel so bad then. But yeah, I my first year publishing, I put out my 3 Amazon books, and like Amazon, not the company, but you know, in the jungle, Amazons. I put out my 3 Amazon books plus a dystopian sci-fi called Waking the Dreamer, and a rom-com called Rules of the Road. And it was Waking the Dreamer that won the Goldie. So.
Well, congratulations. Thank you. And if you had to tell people one big reason to join GCLS, what would it be?
Oh man. It's not just for the camaraderie. It's not just to be part of a group that believes in and loves something as much as you do. It's not just for the potential resources or the entertainment value. It's really just all of those things. Being part of GCLS makes me feel like I'm part of a family, and families aren't always perfect, but I feel like GCLS is growing and evolving and continuously adding more family members. You know, here's a great niece here and a cousin here, and this person just married in, and I don't know, I haven't been a part of it for very long, but I'm really enjoying my experience so far. So it's been pretty amazing.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, let's go to the poll and see what people had to say. Nobody believes you own and play 2 accordions. Well, that's not true. Most people believe you do not own and play 2 accordions. And I have to say, I found that one a little far-fetched because I felt like you had a good story about it, but it seems kind of complicated to me. And so, so you are our last player. So I'm going to just take a mini poll from the authors who are here. Does, I mean, the folks we have on the panel. So will everybody raise their hand if they agree with the audience? Keep your hand down if you don't. All right. Lisa's the only one who agrees with the audience. Okay, so why don't you tell us the answer?
Well, the audience's #1 pick for the lie was the accordions. And I can say honestly that I am not good. Okay. So that obviously was not a lie. Let's see if I can. I
feel like she's going to down a beer. Nope. She's going to show us her eyes.
I have a brown eye and a green eye that I was born with. I don't know if you can actually see it in the camera. Yeah, probably not. Here you go. Just take it that it's true.
By meeting you in person, that's true.
It is very, the green eyes sometimes they're kind of like the same, you know, same level of like darkness, but occasionally the green eye is very, very bright, and then it's really apparently weird. My wife calls me a freak.
Well, who's the bigger freak if she married you?
And this here is a Saugatuck Brewing Company Blueberry Stout, and I was told that I have to drink it.
Don't
Karen,
drink all of it because it's delicious and
I,
only have 1 left.
I was told that I have to drink it just to prove how much I love beer. Okay, okay, that was awful.
Kelly, I don't like beer either. I'm right there with you.
You and Georgia can get together and discuss.
It is farmhouse hard cider. J.K. Stumpy makes cider that tastes just like fresh cider that you go get from an apple orchard. Only it has alcohol. I have legitimately tried at least 30 different craft beers, probably 31 now because I hadn't tried that one. I've had at least 50 different kinds of beer, not just Michigan ones, and they all taste like all beer. Even the ones that my friends say, this one doesn't taste like beer at all, and they're liars.
They all taste like beer.
So what was a lie? You only have one accordion?
I hate beer. I hate all beer. I do not love craft beer. I hate all beer. It's disgusting.
Can you drink other kinds of alcohol or just beer that you don't like?
I don't want to do, you watch my taste test videos for those ones. You can see there. I do like other, I like other liquors. I like fun drinks. I like fruity drinks. I like good rum drinks in the summer, vodka drinks in the winter, you know. I just really dislike beer a lot.
Well, so the message here is that if you see Kelly at a future conference, you should buy her a Mai Tai and not a beer. And I'd like to thank all of our panelists. Don't go because there's a special announcement coming in just a second. So hang on. But I'd like to thank all of our panelists for lying to us today in such a convincing way because it was a lot of fun. And I'd like to welcome Ann Roberts back to give us a special announcement about a future conference.
I do. I have a special announcement, but I got a little hungry, so I thought I'd try Lisa's idea here for these dog treats. Yeah, and then I thought, because I'll do practically anything for GCLS, if somebody in this chat will pledge $50 to GCLS, I will eat this dog treat. So if you're watching and you give us $50, I will eat this dog treat after I tell you the announcement. Oh, and I've already got a taker. Okay, well, because I also believe in crops, you know, you always have to have cookies and milk. I'm going to let that kind of sit there for a few minutes, and I'll tell you the big announcements. Okay, first of all, thank you all for coming to this virtual series. This is our first edition. Our next virtual series is coming on February 27th. We have some amazing authors who will do a reading, experienced authors, award-winning authors, and a debut. So please come. So far, the lineup is Renee Bess and Yolanda Wallace and Ann Shade and newcomer Regina Jameson, and Ms. Mercedes may be joining with us as well. So we hope you'll come. Maria Pena will be our wonderful moderator for that. Here's the big announcement. You all know the virtual conference is coming. We hope everyone will be involved. Everyone will participate, fill out a panelist application. We will have several special guests. Our very first special guest has committed. I think you may know her. It's the author Emma Donahue. Emma is the 2008 winner of Landslide, the Goldie winning Landslide, but I think most of us know her for her award-winning, multi-award-winning book, Room, and which she later went on to get an Academy Award nomination for the writing of the screenplay. She will be with us to do an author chat, do a Q&A, and talk to us about her latest novel, which is very timely, Pull of the Stars. So check that out. Check out all these authors' books. I can't thank this group enough. I had so much fun. And since someone has indeed pledged $50, I'm going to eat my cookie now. This is going to take a while, but you're just going to have to assume I'm going to do it. I really will. I keep my promises, but we will go. I'm sure Archie needs to go outside now. We want to thank everybody. Everybody wave. Bye. Thank you so much, everybody. See you next time.
Now too.
Thank you all.
Enjoy your cookie, Ann.
I will.
That was fun. Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.